Hello, everyone. There we go. That was kind of dark there for a moment. Okay, so today is day 4. Day 4 is reading recipes and understanding them. I know it's actually very simple to read a recipe. You can read a recipe and go, "Yep, I like this recipe." Let's see if I can hold this up there. There we go. This is cornbread. Warm water, yeast, rye flour, rye sour, flour, salt, caraway seeds, and some more dusting for your baking sheets. Anybody can read a recipe. It's the process of bringing that all together that will bring you your final product or your final food preparation. And there are a million different cornbread recipes out there. And not everyone works for everyone. I'm gonna get a little technical here. Where you live makes a huge difference when you're baking or when you're cooking, because your elevation, your pressure, what level of sea you are at. If you're at sea level, you're going to cook a whole lot different than if you're 3,000 feet above sea level. There's a huge difference there. So most recipes, you have to actually look at the recipe book, see where it was written, because it was written for where that particular individual that wrote the recipe book, where they are from. You may have to do some adjustments. Like when you're making breads. Bread is a finicky little bugger. 4 times a year, I have to change the way I make my breads, because in the springtime it's wet, in the summertime it's moist, but it's dry at the same time. The fall, it's super dry, and in the winter, I need moisture and steam to make things work. So four times a year for me, because I live in the Midwest, 4 times a year for me is adjusting those recipes, especially with breads. Breads are finicky. They're easy, but they just take a little bit of delicate work. So reading your recipes and then following the instructions until you have a baseline where to start, it becomes a process of just, like I said, learning and failing, learning and failing, learning and failing. And not everything I make turns out. The dogs eat well sometimes. So learning and failing, learning to read the recipes is the keys to start learning how to cook. And in any recipe, you want to read the ingredients. Usually the ingredients are in order in how they're put into a bowl or a pan. So that's kind of a key. The next is reading the actual instructions, because for certain types of baking and cooking foods, there's a certain time, there's a certain process that has to happen to get you to that end product. So if you're still new to baking and cooking, read the directions. And as you gain confidence and you understand why certain ingredients are in recipes, then it's time to start experimenting. And that's where cooking starts to become fun. For myself, I don't follow recipes. I've cooked for so many years. I've baked for so long that I cook according to my senses. I smell, I'll taste, touch. Touch is a huge one. The next thing that I like to do with recipes is, it might have a recipe that calls for a bunch of different spices, and there's some spices in there that I don't particularly care for. So this is where you get to experiment. And a spice can make or break a recipe flat down. No, it's just some spices are not good in every application, but each and every individual may like a certain spice. I don't care for rosemary. I think it's a wonderful herb to have out in the garden for bugs, but I do not like anything that's got rosemary in it. Fresh rosemary is okay, but it is just not a spice for me. Some people love rosemary, and that's fine. If they want to cook with it, go for it. I love sage, tarragon, basil, a little bit of oregano, parsley, bay leaves, those types of spices. I loved those. And so, starting to read and understanding your recipes and what you're going for, it's just a process that you will have to learn on. And I will be doing some cooking in front of you to show you some recipes that are fun, and they're a base recipe and you can just go with them. So thank you for joining me. Your best health, and April Joy Alexander.